topics.
Yes, today is an exciting day. You might notice that we're in a little bit different of a setup. That's because we are talking about interviews, live interviews.
Yes, so the power of a video interview, not only is it great for collaborations with other experts in your field, it's great for research projects, maybe a new project that you want to show, and being able to tell that interview story in a professional way is not as hard as it seems, and you can create really high quality videos that look like they should be on television at this point.
Yeah.
For really low budgets, especially if you're using pan tilt zoom cameras. So this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to show some B-roll, show you some interviews that we've actually shot over the past week, and then Tess and I are going to interview each other.
Yeah, we reached out to some industry experts and we got some virtual guest interviews as well as physical interviews. So we're going to give you a taste of each.
So here's a couple clips from some interviews that we took this week. You'll see here that this is Jeff Robertson, and this is available on the Stream Geeks channel. We used basically a 4-camera shoot for this one. So we did cross angle shots. That's a cross angle there. And what the producer usually does is he'll have a main shot with both people, as you saw with me and Tess, and then a cross shot for each of the interviewees. But we're going to take it a step further today and show you a 3-camera shoot and a 5-camera shoot. And you'll see that's a cross shot on me mainly here, but I believe it switches in a second to Jeff. And Jeff's cross shot just gives you a little bit more of a personal shot. It looks like Michael there went to a 2-camera shot.
Looks so good.
And then back to a double. And then we also have at some point even an over the shoulder shot. So those are the different things that we're going to show today. That's just an example clip. So Tess, let's jump into our interview. I'm really excited to interview Tess. You guys gave us some questions. Tess is watching the chat. There's the over the shoulder shot that we're going to show you today. Really makes the viewers feel like they're in the room ready for the conference, ready to see the show. So let's start off our interview. I'm going to interview Tess, and let's go ahead and get started. So
Are we
actually,
gonna do
you have the first question. Yeah.
We're going to do back and forth.
Yes.
So I get to ask you a couple questions as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you did a bunch of interviews earlier this week. Which one stood out to you? Which one do you think that we're going to get a lot of benefit from?
Well, there were so many great interviews that we did this week. Scott Whitney from Podworks came on. We actually had Tom Sinclair from Eastern Shore Broadcasting. And then we also brought in a lot of local video production experts from the area as well. So I have to say that the people that actually came into the studio, we got a much better production.
Yeah.
We also did some virtual shots as well. And those virtual shots, people we brought in with vMix Call, those don't have the same video production quality.
Okay. So you think that physical presence?
We were able to source so many great people with so many great ideas. The content for those are really good too. So it's hard to say my favorite. I don't want to pick a single favorite.
All right. Fair enough.
But here's a question for you, Tess. What is your favorite camera angle that you've seen during a interview?
I'll tell you what. Speaking of the interviews that you just did, what's Matt's friend's name?
Jeff Robertson.
I forgot his name for a second. Jeff. That shot that you had of him, that cross shot with the black background, that was probably my favorite of this interview setup that we've done. I'm trying to think if there's one.
Which is actually the shot that Mike has on you now.
Oh, yeah. You
can just see me a little bit, so you see that I'm in the shot, but it's focused on you.
There was something really sharp about that one.
Yeah, I really like that one too. And we've got one that actually shows the same shot from maybe a little bit of you and then me, the over the shoulder from over here as well.
Okay.
So we've got both of those, which are pretty cool.
Outside of the interviews that you just did, can you remember another interview that you saw? What was the last interview that you watched?
The last interview that I just watched, actually on the Casey Neistat YouTube channel, he interviewed the chief business officer for YouTube. I don't know if you know, but YouTube is in a little bit, people are upset about YouTube over the Logan Paul situation where he actually had someone who would commit suicide. He showed them on a YouTube. It was a big scandal. And everyone's kind of upset about how YouTube's responded and took a lot of time to respond. And Casey Neistat did an interview. He did a 3-camera shoot. So he had a front shot and 2 cross shots. And I don't believe that he was using video production software like we are. So he actually probably had to stitch everything together in post-production. I think he even said how much time it took him to do that. If only he knew how easy it is to do that live.
Yep.
There would be no post-production and so many people would be happy by that. But let me ask you a question, Tess. So describe the reaction that you get during an interview when you ask the perfect question.
The reaction I get? Well, we were kind of touching on this earlier. You mean like if it's something that kind of hits hard to the guest? Does that mean catching them off guard necessarily, or
Maybe.
something that evokes some sort of emotion from the guest rather than just like a dry interview? It's good if you can make them laugh or even like blush, anything like that.
Like if they if you take a moment, if there's a silence of pause, if you can tell they're actually thinking about it.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely think so. So here's a one for you, Tess.
We're getting some questions in the chat.
We're getting questions in the chat. In fact, we want to answer those questions. So Tess, pull them in. This is an Ask Me Anything. We're going to.
Cece's asking the audience, how do we feel about seeing cameras in the shot? And that's interesting.
That's a good question because we thought about it, and I'm glad you asked that. That's from CZ Digital Media. From our perspective, we were like, let's definitely put the cameras in the shot because the show is about the cameras, right? So for us, we did that. But for many productions, I don't like seeing them, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So for our show, we were like, let's put them in. You can see it on the over the shoulder. You can't see it on the cross shot.
Yeah, if you want to consider doing this for yourself, you might want to think about mounting the cameras out of the picture.
Yeah.
The other question we got, oh, sorry. Do you want to address this now or should we just blow through this?
No,
really quick?
address the questions. We want to get the questions.
Okay, Paulding says, if you had to choose, would you pick the over-the-shoulder shot or a cross shot?
Well, the cross shots are a little bit easier to set up because with the cross shots, you don't have to worry about an over-the-shoulder catching another camera over the shoulder. Now, here's one little tip that I learned because we did
it's Chris.
3-camera shoot, we did a 4-camera shoot, and we did a 5-camera shoot. If you just do one over the shoulder and not the other over the shoulder, then you'll never see the other over the shoulder camera, if that makes sense. So if you just do 4 cameras and you've got 2 cross shots, you don't have to worry about seeing the camera in that. The main shot, you don't have to worry. And you just do 1 cross shot over the shoulder of maybe the main interviewer, and you know that the one person's going to be on camera the most, and just have 1 over the shoulder, you'll never have to worry about seeing the other over the shoulder camera.
Okay, so the next question we have is, are these the microphones that we usually use? Because,
yes, these are.
All right, you're seeing that it's a little different because we've got these little mufflers over.
We put these little windscreens on. They mask the sound of breathing, and we were noticing that you could hear some breathing. So Tess, I got a question for you. Do you have a Facebook Live reaction question prepared for this show?
I do. Let's pull it up. Yep, this is a fun one for you guys on Facebook to participate. You are going to answer a question for us via the emoji reactions. So if you want to participate, head over to our Facebook page.
There's a little emoji key on the X keys, Michael. If you just hit that, it's like a little happy face on there. It will pop right up. Ta-da!
All right, vote for a wall light color, our backlight color.
Yeah. I hope this is working.
Yeah, if you would prefer to see red for Valentine's Day, give the love button. If you'd like to see blue, hit the like button. And if you'd like to see yellow, hit the haha emoji.
Yes, I hope that is
it's
working.
color
I don't know if you
coordinated,
can check on Facebook to see if those are matching up. We're using livereactionpoll.com. I hope that works. So let's answer questions, and then you're next, Tess, on the interview.
All right.
And of course,
this is where it's going to get juicy.
It's going to get a little juicy, and I'll also reiterate that right after this whole interview process, we will explain everything and how it's all been done. But the point is, we thought, let's do a live interview, let's show it in action, and then talk about how we did it.
This next one is, how do you think that your coworkers perceive you? How would they describe you?
Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have. I put this in there because I was looking for good,
dangerous.
Juicy questions.
Depends which coworker you ask.
You know, I think from a perspective, we have some new hires, and I think from their perspective, I think they might in a funny way, feel like they know me because they've seen so many videos. So I think that that's great because they might think, God, this guy's got so much energy. He's always on the camera. And I think even Michael said one time, like, is there ever a time when you just don't want to get on camera? You just want to have a shy day? And of course, that's when I'm at home with my kids and on the weekends and things like that. So people might think I'm incredibly outgoing. I have kind of come out of my shell as I've gotten into my 30s, and I'm an outgoing person. But I think that a lot of people don't see the kind of at home with the kids side of things.
Now, if you asked like, your brother, like, coworkers, they might say, he drives me out of my mind or something like that.
So I might, Michael, you could try refreshing that browser to see if that's going to pull in the Facebook Live comments. Let's not worry about it.
You and I are kind of similar.
Well, here's my question. How would you describe me as your boss?
You as my boss? Ooh, you're making me nervous now. Well, I feel like we're friends, so that makes it really helpful. You're definitely understanding, like, with Jason being sick and that stuff, so it's nice to have, like, a flexibility there. But there's also this openness where I can, like, call you out on something. I feel like we have a two-way thing there.
Yeah.
So I guess I couldn't ask for a better boss.
Well, thank you. And
I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and say that you suck or something, but but I'm lucky to work where I work. Anybody that watches the show can see that with the way that we can banter, and even Michael as well. So
we're going to bring Michael on.
Matt's
to
in
be
the chat
interviewed too. Oh, Matt's in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh, now I'm really nervous.
Oh no. Hide.
Which boss? I have.
Yeah, which boss are we talking about?
I have 3 others.
Here's a question.
Paul.
Yeah, I got another question for you because I think we skipped one. What do you remember your first ever camera?
My first ever camera. Okay, it was definitely a Canon, and it was a digital camera, and it was super fancy back then. It was silver and big and bulky. It was digital, and the lens would, like, pop out. I wish I meant to prepare an overlay for it. Do you remember your first camera?
Trying to remember. I've had a lot because I've always loved cameras. I do think my first ever camera, see, you're a little younger than me, it was film. It was a 35 millimeter black and white.
Well, I did take photography in high school where I had to use a 35 millimeter and, like,
did you have
develop
that
the
before
film.
The other camera?
That was actually a hand-me-down from my sister.
Yeah,
so
so that's kind of what I had,
Yeah.
like like an older one. And then my grandmother had collected. She bought like way too much money's worth of Olympus Canon lenses, and she gave them all to me. So helped me, get into the process of becoming a photographer and learning a lot about cameras. So that was fun.
Okay, how do you go about continuing to develop your live streaming skills? Yeah, I mean, we try and establish ourselves as professionals in this industry. What's the next step to continue that advancement?
So that to answer that question, I would say that partially, it has to do with understanding our products and how they work with other products. So, we want to know how our camera line works with vMix, works with Wirecast, and it's a great outreach to say, the guys from vMix, get to know them because our solution is part of their solution.
Right.
So becoming an industry partner and working with different people has really, I think, changed the game with understanding all these different parts of a really large industry. But also on the stream geeks side of things, and also being in part of the Streaming Idiots community.
It's growing so much.
And we decided to actually, for those of you who may not know, we created a whole nother channel called Stream Geeks. And streamgeeks.us if you want to learn a little bit about it. And that allows us to kind of one day a week, it's Mondays usually, come out of our PTZ Optics shell, if you will, and test anything in the industry that we want to play with. We were using a live view solo and a camcorder instead of a PTZ Optics camera because you can go mobile with something like that.
Okay,
so,
somebody is saying that they're having trouble seeing the, Roby, I think that we're okay. I don't know if you want to refresh your page.
Yeah. Try
do I avoid wearing earrings, wearing the face mask? No, and I normally do wear earrings. I just recently took them off because Stevie got me earrings for Valentine's Day. So I was trying them on, and I took them back off and didn't put my regular earrings back on.
So here's a question for you, Taz. How comfortable are you operating vMix? And be honest.
Well, right now, which is interesting because it's been like a break for me because before Michael, I would help you with that. And when you would be gone, I would operate the show on my own. So I might be a little rusty, but I feel like I know my way around vMix pretty well.
Well, when you went to Keystone, you were an MVP.
Aw.
Keystone.
Thanks, Mike.
So, Mike, I don't know if you want to show your behind-the-scenes camera really quickly. Michael's here, our producer, and what I was thinking is if Michael and Tess would like to swap places.
What?
Tess, you can go ahead and take
All right.
control of VMix.
This is gonna get scary. All right, Michael, that means you're in charge of the chat
Come over here and I'll
and
fix it.
queuing comments.
All right. Tess is going to take control of VMix. She's pretty comfortable. She's done it before. Let me just check something here. And Tess, your mic's live, so you should be good to go. Oh, let's turn it on.
I turned it off when I was blowing my nose.
I gotta change the group. There. Put your headphones on. Can you hear Mike?
I actually have to turn my mic off and turn his mic on because I can hear myself in the headphones.
Okay. Can you hear?
I can hear
Can you hear Mike? Tess?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear
Yes.
Mike? Okay, good.
Another test.
Test 1 2 1 2 test.
No,
Test 1 2 1 2 test.
I'm just hearing him through yours, I believe.
Keep-
Hello. Test 1 2 1 2.
Are all of our mics?
Oh, sorry. All right, go ahead.
Test 1 2 1 2
We got
test.
you.
All right.
What about Mike's mic?
Just you're gonna have to hear yourself in the headphones. All right.
That's like too much
So-
for me.
Michael, thank you for joining the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank
We're
you.
gonna
Wow, this
quickly
is crazy.
interview you about. I know here's a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
How long have you been? Do you remember your first camera?
Yes, actually I do. There's like a couple different like cameras. One is my dad gave me his camera from college, which is from the
Really?
60s. So I have this really old model Canon from the
Really?
60s. I still have it. It's on the bookcase. Regular 35 millimeter film. A camera that then I got in college was another Canon, but it took film. It's kind of dating myself. Is before all the digital stuff came in, and then
Yeah.
like digital cameras were separate, and they were like the simple like point and shoots. And then I got the real deal like a couple years ago. I got the real deal Canon,
Yeah.
like 5D. So
Nice.
yeah, it's been a fun like evolution.
So I wanted to ask you about that. And how long have you been? Would you consider yourself kind of working in the video production industry?
I would say been in production for like 10 years, and then with video probably like 5 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you definitely, you seem like you have a lot of experience. And then I can show you some of the newer style stuff, and you pick it up right away.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much cool stuff coming out all the time.
I would have to like the last job I had was definitely I would say it's like a equivalent of like a boot camp. I had like a boot camp. It was like every single day you get in. It was like hard. You just did it. You would just
Wow.
put the time in.
So that's why VMix ended up being a little easier for you to learn because it's not easy.
No, it's not. No, it's not easy. VMix reminds me of kind of the Adobe programs. There's just like a lot going on. There's just a lot of tools in there, and it's awesome. And you just got to go in there and kind of explore. But also, you got to do it. You got to do production like every day.
Yeah, you really got to use it all the time. In fact, that was my other question for you. Is like, can you explain what it felt like at the beginning of when you started using VMix, and then how you feel about it now?
Definitely, VMix was intimidating. It's hard. It's intimidating. You are seeing these new layouts for the first time. In a sense, I was able to kind of, what I remember from Adobe Premiere or some of the Adobe programs, to kind of just take your time and look at it, but very intimidating. And I would just raise my hand and be like, Paul, I need your help.
Yeah.
And even during the show, and you were so great as a teacher, and so is Tess. Like you were just like so calm. You take your time. You'd get up from whatever you're doing, and you would just show me what to do. And now when you go, oh, set up this, I'm like, oh, it's already done.
It's already done.
It's already done.
So it feels great.
Yeah, it does.
So let's go ahead and jump into our presentation. I guess you guys can jump back into
Sure.
our space. Because it's been about 20 minutes, and we've got a presentation for you guys. I'll take that.
Thank you.
And we're going to answer all your questions, guys. But I can see Tom Willis in the chat, Mike Lotta.
He was hot. It took me a long while to figure
did you figure it out though?
Like the very end.
I
wasn't sure which
we
one he was
didn't
on.
test Mike's mic.
He was loud. I mean, at least he was heard.
but at least people could hear him. Sorry about that, guys. That was an idea we had at the very end, and it. So, Mike, the presentation.
Yes.
All
love
right,
you
so here we
all.
are. So today the presentation is setting up professional video interviews. So let's jump right into it. So we're going to talk about what video interviews are great for, camera placement ideas, types of camera angles, interview production flow, a 3-camera setup, a 5-camera setup, of course, color matching cameras, thinking about lighting, accent lighting, and virtual video interviews. What's this question here we have, Taz?
It was just a nice comment from Tommy about appreciating, we are infomercials, as Tom Sinclair would say, but we're not afraid to share information outside of our sales realm. And Matt is being funny in here as well. He likes to see Mike in the hot seat for a change, and so do I. That was really
Yeah.
fun.
We're
And
gonna
I
get
like
him out
to
more.
flex my VMix muscles a little bit. I was like, all right.
Yes.
I was like, didn't want to leave the seat. I was getting excited.
That's why.
I was like,
that's
all right.
why it was fun for me to sit here and watch this, because I'm wondering, first of all, Michael on the hot seat, but second of
another
all,
question for you.
you in the production seat.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
We're jack of all trades over here. Okay, is moving from OBS to VMix a huge jump? Did you see that question?
It doesn't have to be. And what I mean by that is that basically it can do so much more, but you don't have to do it all right away. You can literally have, like with vMix, it's just, you can have 10 multiple layers for each input. It's just a totally new way of thinking. It's a paradigm shift. If you're serious about it, I think that almost anybody using OBS, once you start making money with it, or you're really serious about it, you will need to graduate, and the earlier you rip the Band-Aid, the better.
Here's a good tip from Jim, which I like. Use cuts in interviews and not fades between cameras, as
Yes.
natural eye movement
I
is a
think you were
blink.
using fades.
I was using merges.
You
Yeah.
were using merges. Don't worry about it. But Mike was
We
using
always
cuts.
merge.
Yeah, well, we used to. Michael and I had a long conversation about starting to use cuts more.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go into this presentation. I want to break down the love that we put into this presentation here. So, what are video interviews great for? Collaborations, I would say, if you're at any business, is number one. So
And influencers. They're
influencer
kind of similar.
collaborations. If you've
Right
got
now.
a customer that's willing to come and do an interview, you can, don't forget to tag your interviewer, right? So if we're interviewing New Tech or vMix, don't forget to tag them in the post and have them share it. And the shareability in social media when you're collaborating is wonderful.
Because you can reach their audience as well,
It's really nice. In fact,
which is great for interviews.
because there's been so much collaboration projects, places like YouTube and Facebook have both created tools for, I don't know how to say this, but being like a co-host kind of, and connecting two different social media accounts together for a shared event.
Absolutely.
And that's really cool. Another one is any type of research project, whether it be a college research project, a corporate business research
You're
project.
the master at the research portion.
I know. I do all this research all the time. And if I need an expert in the field to come and deliver some information that I would never be able to get otherwise, and I want to get it on camera, I want to get it recorded, what people will do is they'll go out, bring a couple cameras on tripods, set them up, and get the interview.
Yeah, but you're also the best at like reaching out to people. I mean, like, okay, I know this person is a master of this space, and then you always reach out to them, just like you did gathering all these interviews up together.
Yeah, we were able to get a bunch of interviews, and it kind of worked out really well because not only are we getting all these interviews for our Monday show, but we're actually reviewing the interview process today, and I think a lot of people are going to get value out of this. Course television programs, live shows, audience engagement, and Ask Me Anything. Live streaming is changing the game. Now, if we're doing a live interview that we're streaming to the world, the audience gets to be part of the interview.
Yep.
So camera placement ideas.
We've already been touching on this today a little bit with our should the cameras be or not to be in the picture. That is the question.
Yes.
Let's talk about our setup today.
So one of the very first things we did was I went out and I measured the height of like my eyes when I was sitting down in these chairs. Because this studio and how we actually mounted the cameras, they're pretty high because we were thinking that we were going to either be standing or sitting on those taller director chairs. So
good point.
Tripods are great for that. And we actually, now most of our main shots are on tripods because we were able to get them exactly high. These are like kind of low chairs.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're lounge chairs, so.
There we go. Now you can pretty much see everything. One camera is actually on a table here, but we were happy with it. This camera over here is slightly off axis. It's not totally centered, but Michael liked it that way.
Dramatic effect.
That dramatic effect. He wanted to keep it that way. I think it looks good. And then we've got tripod. We got like 3 or 4 tripods. So the idea here is to get a center camera, obviously. That's been our main shot. And then the next placement idea is over the shoulder. That's one of both of our favorites, I think. It's really brings
if the
people
lighting's
in.
there. Well, I like the one where it almost looks like you're sitting next to me looking at you from my angle.
Yeah. This
I like
one
that a
here,
lot.
it really, really works
What model
well.
tripods are we using today?
These, I wish I bought better ones. I just bought some cheap ones on Amazon.
All right, so these are just cheapies.
I wouldn't even share the model numbers because they broke. More than one of them have broke, and I bought 5 of them. The next one we have is the side angle. So we talked about, so there's the over the shoulder and there's the side angle, and you got to decide which one you want. This is like an over the shoulder. We probably could have even gone further over if we wanted to. This is the side angle. So the side angle makes you, if I'm looking at Tess, a lot of times in an interview, you don't want them to worry about the cameras. That's why the over shoulder is so nice, because it forces them to almost look in the camera, but they're not necessarily thinking about the camera.
It takes away the thought of having to look at the camera.
Like, I feel like if you're going to do an interview, you want the cameras to be like transparent. You don't want them to think about the cameras. You need a lot of them to do a good shot, but you don't want the people in the interview to really be worried about that.
Here's a question. SP tight over the shoulder is better than not as tight?
Yes, and this one over here is tighter. So this one on this angle over here is tight, and everyone's saying they like that more. And even Michael was saying he likes it. And then this shot over here is not as tight, and people are saying they don't like it as much.
Apparently the hair light's looking good today.
How much is it for this full setup? Well, there's
Not
so
including
many
the new
pieces.
cameras.
There's so many pieces involved. There's lights. There's
For
a
decor
backdrop. There's
and-
chairs.
For decor and TVs and some mounting and the tables and the furniture, around 10 grand.
Yeah.
Not including the cameras we already had and the PC we already had.
Yep.
And the microphones.
So
we
a
already
live
had.
streaming computer. We have systems on ptzoptics.com that's everything but the lights and the wallpaper and the chairs and all of that you may already have. That starts around 5,000. So side angles, and then of course the main producer shot. And here's the thing I want to mention too while we're here is that if you're using pan, tilt, zoom cameras, which we are, and Michael, maybe you could show that on this camera. Each camera can have 1 or 2 or 3 usable shots, right? So we have different presets. So each camera, Michael, as he goes back and forth, may have a close-up. There may be one that's further back. And usually the panning and tilting and zooming happens off camera. And so Michael goes to a wide shot. Then when he goes back to Tess, maybe it's a close-up of Tess as opposed to another one that maybe is a little further out.
Right.
So even though we've got 5 cameras in this shoot, you may actually see 10 or 15 different framed shots. And Michael, as you guys know, now he has 10 years of video production experience, is framing up these shots and then transitioning to them when he feels it's the right time.
Felt that was an appropriate time for framing your shot comment.
Yeah. Can you read the comments when you put them up? Because I can't see them without light.
Oh, you can? Okay, Chris was just saying framing your subject correctly is important as well.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
If you're not using the panning part of the tripod, cheap tripods are fine. The pan tilt of the PTZ Optics negates having a smooth and expensive tripod.
Ah, Good point. That's what I was thinking when I bought these cheap ones, but these ones are so cheap. I wish I never bought them. Yeah, they just started breaking on us at the most inopportune times. So now let's talk about show flow. And Michael, if your mic's still working, I'd love for you to jump in here and maybe even show the behind the scenes. I do have a picture on this next slide that'll help us kind of get started on this topic.
Oh, look at that pic.
What do you want?
But essentially, as you can see here, we're starting with maybe a main person going to a secondary shot, and then I'll get rid of the telestrator because you're switching, and then going cross to cross, right? So Tess says something, then I say something, then Tess says something, and that opportunity of going back and forth also gives Michael the opportunity to maybe change the PTZ position in between transitions.
Right.
And then go back to maybe this. And then what I saw Michael doing, which I thought was really good, is in between the crosses, he kind of makes his way into an over the shoulder as the interview becomes more intense. And I really think that looks great. So now I'm talking to Tess, and now they're really in there, really feeling like they're part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
So if you can get 5 cameras, I know that's asking a lot. The over the shoulders are great.
Why not 10, 20?
If you can do 3 cameras, you do a center and 2 cross shots. And if you can only do 1 camera, or maybe if you can only do 2, let's say, you can do 1 wide shot and then 1 PTZ that zooms into Tess, zooms into me, zooms into Tess, zooms into me. And technically, that would count as a cross shot because technically, if it was like, let's say if it was behind the main shot, it would go zoom in over this way, zoom in over that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the 3 camera setup is so funny because it reminds me of the 3 light rule too as well.
Yeah.
Even on the diagram.
Oh, and so here's a 3 camera setup. I'm glad we have that. And you can see we've got 1, 2, and 3. And then later actually on this presentation, the telestrator is so slow it doesn't even work. But we've got the 2 subjects there.
Hey, Claude.
So, Michael, why don't you go ahead and show the behind the scenes here? Is your mic on?
What about this question really quick? What do we
sure.
think about, when you're feeling socially awkward and you're afraid to invite guests on because you don't know, you're nervous to talk to somebody live?
You have
What do you think, Michael?
you have to just get out there. You have
You
to
gotta,
do it.
yeah,
Just
maybe
do it.
like have a glass of wine before or something.
Yeah, do whatever you need to do.
Once you get over
calm
the
your
first
nerves.
one, and even if it's like a mess up, we've messed up a million times on the show. With live streaming, people have an understanding that it happens. I don't know. Once you do it so many times, you get used to it. Here, I gotta blow my nose.
I said it once before, but rip the Band-Aid. Rip the Band-Aid now because when is a better time to really do it? And get out there and do your interview.
Yeah.
So we can just keep going through the
What do you
presentation, Michael?
do when you
or
have a
could actually
cold,
let's just keep
but
going
the
through
show must
presentation.
go on?
All right, so 3 main shots. So we've got 3 cameras, we've got 3 main shots. So there's 3 ways to set this up. You can do the front shot with an angled shot and an over the shoulder, or you technically could do a front shot and 2 angled shots, one for the interviewer, one for the presenter.
What are the
which
light
is
placements?
more. Well, we will there's
We
a
will go over
slide
lighting.
about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doc says just do it.
The next slide, so that's our 3-shot idea there. Of course, there's a lot of different ways to set this up. Here's the 5 camera setup, and this is what we have set up now.
Oh, baby.
So 5 cameras sounds a little crazy. You'd have to have, a computer that can handle all that. But if you have, what we actually did, because we were running out of camera ports and SDI cables, some of these cameras are actually coming over NDI, over a single Ethernet cable. So adding more cameras will become easier in the future for those who are interested. All right, so color matching cameras starts to become very important. So we've done a pretty good job. No one mentioned anything about any of the cameras not matching. But essentially,
that was coming from
because
Paul
we've got
Morris.
5 different cameras, 5 different angles, the lighting is different on different subjects. Like if you're looking at the lighting from Tess from her side where there's a light shining right on her, or from this angle where there's no backlight, it's just going to look slightly different. Now, as long as we get, yeah, because there's a lot of different light in there. So that was the one that we were having the most trouble with color matching, just because there's so much of a different contrast over there. But in general, most of the shots that we have, there's not a stark change. In fact, the one that you have of Tess where she's a close-up, if you zoom out of that one, it looks better. Yeah, that one matches a little better. And then we've got the zoom in. But it looks good. And if you zoom into it and step into a new lighting scenario. But what you want to do is, the best thing you can do is use the same exact cameras. Same exact camera models. So we're using all 20x SDIs, although we do have one 12x SDI.
Justice, can you show an example of bad color matching?
Oh, gosh.
Just that right there?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't horrible color matching, but Michael,
My cues aren't working.
Throw in one of those 20, that one.
This is not
Yeah.
color matched.
So that's not color matched.
Why don't they go back and forth?
So see that? And then that. Not horrible, but it's just not tweaked and tuned in yet.
Yeah.
So by adjusting the exposure, by adjusting the color or the white balance, and adjusting the contrast, you can get them very close. And every time you change the camera location, you may need to tweak just a little bit of contrast, just a little bit of exposure to get them right.
Ken says,
If anyone has any software for vMix about color.
Yeah, Michael, what you want is color grading.
Yeah.
And what that does is, Michael would love, and everyone's asked for this in vMix, is you take all your cameras and apply a color grade on top of them so that you can like make them all the same temperature, or they all have like a filter on them almost.
yeah.
And it makes them match better.
We want vMix to do that.
And vMix really needs to do that. I hope they do. The new Tech TriCaster does.
Ken says, when do you choose to interrupt? Perfect example.
Ah.
Adding information or changing direction, or just filling dead air. That's one of the great
Wow.
things about having a
Yeah.
guest or a co-host, because there is somebody there to fill that dead air
Yeah.
to look to. But you wait until Paul stops talking and then you interject. No. But you do wait for that moment of silence, that breath, and there's something about just the ease of it and the feeling, you know. And sometimes you do speak over one another,
Yeah,
and
a
then
little
you
bit.
just excuse yourself and you go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
I
you-
mean, you can all, like, Tess and I have been doing so many shows together that I can almost kind of tell when she just goes, ah. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
she's ready to talk. Like, I need to like wrap up my thought. But you could, if you have a good cadence with the person that you're working with in the interview, like I almost can like know when Tess is like, all right, Paul, like stop talking, and I might be a little rude when I go like, but I think
No,
Tess
at
knows
this
too.
point,
and I'm
we're
like,
just
I'm
like,
ready to
we
jump in
just-
here.
We just like, at this point, we're just like, you, be quiet. Do we have classes or meetups?
Things that we have been considering, yes. We have over 15 free courses available online on Udemy. So if you go to ptzoptics.com/landing/coupons.html, sorry it's so long, you can get all the free coupon codes for our Udemy courses. I think if you just type in PTZ Optics Udemy courses into Google, it'll pop up. And 15 courses on vMix and Wirecast and all of these different things available for free online. And we're creating a new one soon on marketing,
We do-
video marketing.
But Doc Jama is local, and if you do want to
Oh.
come in, we have the streaming awards that we host in
Yes.
office coming up in May. We didn't set a date yet, but I'm
Her
sorry,
mic's
it's
not
May.
working?
Talking. So yeah, so in May we are doing the streaming awards, and you are totally invited to that. More information on that to come.
Yes, so we're going to have a streaming awards. We've been thinking about some local trainings too, but we haven't 100% tied that down yet. So we talked about camera color matching, very important, and thinking about lighting. So we have two different
Here we
types
go,
of
lighting.
lighting that we're working with today. The main talent lighting and the what we like the most, the accent lighting. So let's play with the accent lighting
Should we
just
talk
really
about
quickly.
broadcast LED lighting though?
Not yet.
Okay.
So I'm turning the background blue.
A good interviewer should
And-
also be a good listener.
That's a good point.
I like that.
Alexa, turn the studio lights blue.
Okay.
There we go. So I don't know, Michael, if you can just show our shot here a little bit. But this is what I call accent lighting. And accent lighting is a colored light that can be red or blue or yellow. And you can set the mood. In fact, I like the yellow brick a little too. I don't know what you think. But we can change
That's lime
it.
green.
All right, that's lime green. We don't want that. I kind of like the blue. I've always been a fan of the blue, but I also really like the white because it really just kind of... Everyone seems to like the white too.
It's like a blue-white.
Yeah, it's like a bluish white anyway.
Because the LEDs are naturally
a
blue.
little blue. So that's accent lighting, but let's talk about the next slide, which is the main talent lighting. Now, everyone's been told about three-point lighting, right? You have a key, a fill, and a backlight. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when your talent is far enough away from each other, you need three-point lighting per person.
Yeah. And then you have to keep in mind for glasses, I've done a lot of reading on that. The key is to keep them higher, not face level. You don't want your lighting to be face level.
Yes.
To
or else you
avoid
get
glare.
huge glare. And you're not getting that. You're not getting any glare there.
No. And some ones, we have so much going on right now that I still do, and it's
A
not
little bit,
perfect,
yeah.
but...
That's one thing that Tess has always combated.
My
But
pet peeve.
so that's the accent lighting. I like to play around with that depending on the mood that we're setting. Like if we were interviewing a company called HubSpot and their logo was blue, so we made the background orange. I was interviewing someone yesterday who somehow had red brick in their background with yellow lights, so I changed mine to yellow, and it really matched and looked good. The little things. Anyway, not the most
We're putting them
important thing.
virtually right on the table next to you.
Look at this picture I found, Tess.
Oh, girl. What was I doing?
I don't remember. That was an early day, but I was like, wow, look at the back of her hair and how the hair light started to come into play. And quick story. I won't take a lot of time on this, but you remember it, Tess.
They want to see our lighting setup.
There was a time when we didn't have a ton of lights.
No, we had the big
We had like no
bulb
lights.
lights with the big
Yeah,
cover
we had like
diffuser
we had
over
like no good lighting.
it.
We had photography
lights.
lights. And they got hot. Oh my God, they got hot. Luckily, we switched to LED lights. But I remember who it was. It was Mike Lotta. Was like, you need a hair light. And I was like, what's a hair
Thank you,
light?
Mike.
Do I really need a hair light? And what I realized is that hair lights make the subject pop off of the background, and they really are the number one thing that separates you from, those who are trying and those who really look television style professional. So it's that, and you can barely see it, but you know it because you've seen it on every television show you've ever seen in your life. You can see now on the back of Tess's hair here, it's a halo effect.
That, just follows me around, on a day-to-day basis. But Paul pretends that it's a lighting we set up.
It depends on. I'm trying to cancel out the halo that would really be blocking everything. But we posted that picture there because you can really see it on the side of Tessa's hair there. Here's the accent lighting.
Mike Lotta is bowing.
Yep, Mike Lotta.
Thank you.
That
Thank you.
could have been a year ago, Mike. And now here we are, and look what we've done. Now, Tess and I both have. I don't know if you can show that, Mike, on a camera that's fully zoomed out, but Tess and I both have backlights. So here's mine, right here. This is my hair light. And then Tess's is right up there. So we both have hair lights, and we've even got these accent lights down here. So, Alexa, turn the studio lights white.
Okay.
And then we've got a little bit even more. So once you start playing with lighting, you'll be surprised how many lights you feel like you need after a while. But I put this little picture in down there where I matched the guest with a yellow light.
The AR coding. I'm scared to put an unknown substance on my glasses.
Yeah, because those are prescription glasses. Now, quickly, we didn't want to forget virtual video interviews. We've been doing this for a long time. The video production quality is never going to be as good as getting the person in.
Right.
But
There's something about that physical presence
Oh my God,
that
it's
really
just so
helps for that
nice.
communication.
for the communication, the cadence, the video
You can really read their
production,
nonverbal cues
yeah,
really well.
it's just so nice. And the audio quality is going to be exactly the same. But with the internet today and the technology that we have, you can do really great, high quality interviews over the internet. So let's just talk a little bit about some of the tips that we can do here. So here's our show flow. So we start with a full screen, we go to a picture-in-picture, then we go to the full screen of the interviewer and back and forth on full screens. There's no need to really do angled shots because you're not really in the same room. It doesn't make as much sense. So it's just a ping-ponging back and forth of full screens, maybe a double screen, and then back for the intro and the outro.
By the way, for the Facebook reaction question, looks like we have a tie between love and likes.
Can we look at that?
Red and
Can
blue.
can you hit the Facebook reaction question?
Because
All right.
I loved it just
not
because I
working.
always love our posts.
Let me show you how to fix it. I want to see if I can.
Okay, 7 loves, 6 likes. So red wins. Alexa, turn the studio lights red.
Okay.
That's not working. Whatever.
Red wins.
Red
Thank you for your
wins.
participation.
Okay, so we will turn it red. They want to see red. Okay.
It's
We'll make it red.
Valentine's
Oh,
Day.
it is Valentine's Day. Let's not forget. So now, if you can show that the backdrop, so now we've got the red on the red. Looks cool. The red back. So let's finish up this presentation. We're almost done, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. It's been a really fun show. Just for fun, you can do a virtual in-person interview. We did this, if you look back to season 2, episode 19. We're on season 3 now.
Yeah.
Season 2, episode 19. It was the VMix 19 release party.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun.
We got balloons.
Those balloons are real.
Yeah.
We should get balloons next time. That was fun. We have to get balloons for the NDI release next week.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
If it happens next week.
Yeah,
why not?
right. It might get postponed. We don't want to buy balloons now because they'll probably get deflated.
Yeah. Can we go to close up to Paul again?
But that was
Or
an
tape.
example
Maybe I could just do
of we brought Tom Sinclair in to the show. We brought in Tom Sinclair. He sent us over VMix call a green screen. He was in front of a green screen. Then we chroma keyed him and put him into a virtual set. So that was I just wanted to throw that in there as a fun interview, a virtual interview.
You can get creative with this. Really fun stuff. Any extra tip to ready a remote guest for an interview via VMix call?
Ooh.
Good point. I have a protocol.
Yeah, Tessa has a protocol. You should
We
share
have
that.
fallen off the wagon a little bit because
Yeah.
we've been so busy. But typically, originally, we had a Google Doc prepared with instructions.
Vicky Lashenko
Yeah.
originally sent us hers.
Vicky Lashenko of Mompreneur inspired us to do that. We have a complete set of directions, images, highlighted, circled, buttons of where to press. We always tell them to have a microphone and a camera ready. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Call time, we usually ask them to come about 30 minutes ahead of time. And we also send them an agenda beforehand so
Yeah.
they're prepared with the talking points.
So that's that. We have a couple more slides. We're almost done. All right, so final tips. And Michael, we forgot to do this. So play me a little soft jazz, if you would.
Oh, absolutely.
So we forgot to do this, but this is what I want to do for all the rest of the interviews. Michael's got a lot going on, but essentially one of the things I think would be really cool is at the beginning of an interview, you play a little soft jazz, and it tapers out after 20 seconds. And then at the outro, when you know you're done, and Michael, we got to do this at the end of this interview. You're playing it right now, and at the end, it's just a little outro
chill
music. You know, you hear it on podcasts.
Yeah.
It really does bring it up a level. You see it on a lot of television stuff that's produced. You can do that kind of stuff live, don't forget. And yeah, that's just one example. So if you have someone managing, wait, there's a couple other times. If you have someone managing the audio board and you have somebody who's a heavy breather, you can mute just them when they're not talking. But what we found, I'm a heavy breather.
Let's talk about our problem.
Yeah.
We
Let's really get these issues out.
We
in the
had a
open.
problem. Tom Sinclair is, and everyone out there, by the way, if
Did
you
he start it with,
if
listen,
you're-
Paul, I love you.
Yeah,
But
so and everyone out there, it's. I was telling Tess this. It's our show and how good it has become at this point is literally the result, the sum of everyone's little critiques of Mike Lotta with the hair lights, Tom Sinclair asking about the breathing, people constantly asking about the audio getting better,
Yep.
and everyone together commenting and telling us how we need to do better, we need to do better, we need to do better.
pushing us.
All of that has come. So here's the latest thing that we've come to the table is the breathing. And so that's what these are doing right here. And because these microphones are so sensitive and so good that you could literally hear me breathing.
Yeah.
And with these on, I don't think you really can.
Yeah, let us know.
I have not heard any breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are helping a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. But
So.
we should talk about about taking critique and not taking it personal.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Like if you're blessed enough to have a live audience and they're critiquing you, it's a good thing. And I will say that there were times when I was like, really, a hair light? It looks great. Like, really? It looks fine. It looks
Or you'd
fine.
be like offended by something.
Yeah, or
There's
I'd be
a
like-
difference between people just being mean, just say if they're going to say you suck or you guys are losers or whatever. Those are trolls.
That's not
If
constructive.
someone's saying like, yeah, I think it would be better if you added this, then that's something we totally consider because why not? That's awesome.
Yeah, just be open-minded because literally our show 100% is mainly, of course, a lot of hard work on our part, but a lot of the little tips, like we don't.
Big shout out to
we
you
did not
guys.
go to school. Honestly, we didn't go to school for broadcasting. And I'll throw in this last thing that I think is so funny but true. Here in Philadelphia, they actually put out a report, and television broadcasters and video producers
Here,
are the
sit down,
number
Polly.
one and number two most in-demand resource in Philadelphia. That's the scarcest. There's the least amount of trained people.
That means there's job opportunities.
There's job opportunities, and there's just not enough trained people to fill the job opportunities. And we had to train ourselves. A lot of people don't realize that there's a big market and demand for long-term jobs in the video production industry. Yet, we had to kind of teach ourselves. So having everybody give us tips and bring us along with Mike Lotta has like 30 years of experience. It was just a blessing.
And our audience is so tech heavy and experienced that it's like we look up to you guys in a way, and it's like, okay, we better listen to them. They've been in this industry for a million years.
We've learned that
Some of my
we're the
Facebook
youngsters on the
comments
block.
aren't queuing.
I've found that too. I'm sorry. Sometimes a Facebook comment won't queue, and you can go to another one, and then maybe go back to that one. But that's it. The only other thing is sometimes you might want to have an extra video clip in the bag. You get a video clip there, and you can throw it in as an intro, as an outro. Because a lot of times, this was a long interview. We started with an interview, then we went back to a presentation. Now we are kind of fooling around at this point. This is the last slide as far as I'm concerned. But if you're doing a normal interview that's just
Critique.
10 minutes or so, maybe 5-minute interview, it's nice to roll an intro, have lower thirds, all that good stuff that you might want.
Okay.
Here's a critique to build off.
Add some barn doors to your accent lights. It's casting too much color on text.
Oh, that's true. And I have had that. Oh my God. That's true. It's really true. And it annoys me.
Here's a
because
question from Ken.
That's why we go to the white. Because then if it's casting white light, it doesn't matter, right?
Yay,
so
Jeff.
that's what
I'm so
I've-
happy this is
that's what I've
timely
learned.
for you. All right, hold on. There's a lot of stuff I want to get up here.
And of course, this whole presentation is available for download at ptzoptics.com/interview.
All right, so this isn't working, but Ken says, how do your bosses like your show progress? In essence, the bottom line, have camera sales increased since PTZ Optics began streaming?
Well, I would say 100% definite that having a live show has helped. The bosses don't watch all the shows, so they don't know everything we're doing, and that's probably a good thing. No, but they don't watch
No
everything. I know
comment.
that, and they probably don't have time to watch everything. But what I will say is
We don't want to toot our own horn.
what
but-
they think. I think from what they think, if that's the question, they think that the industry outreach shows where we have Wirecast on the show, or we have vMix on the show, or we have partners on the show, building those networks of relationships is the most powerful thing. And it really is, because then when you go to the NAB trade show, or you go out to these group meetups and you know the people, or you've interacted with them, even if it was just to have them on your show, it builds the relationships that are, a lot of people to this day, I think relationships still really matter. And building those relationships helps a lot.
Yep. Are we going to talk about our software at all? Just question.
What's this question say?
What software do we use?
Oh yeah, Papa behind the scenes, Mike. I thought it would be nice for you to show Papa
Behind the scenes?
behind the
Oh,
scenes
your shot.
showing your shot. If it's still if you have that behind the scenes shot, just because so you can kind of see what Mike's doing there. Someone was asking versus cuts versus fades.
Cuts versus fades. I don't remember who it was that was, talking about this earlier in the show, but
It's really
for
all about the
interview
cuts.
style,
Yeah.
apparently cuts is better.
Yes,
As
definitely.
it's
All right.
quicker, easier to switch between the motion of a blink. He compared it to.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Definitely the cuts are better. So you're just seeing Mike there kind of messing around, just queuing up shots, and then cutting in transition.
I guess
to
as
them.
long as you're not cutting too often, so it's like chop, 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 chop.
Yeah. As long as it makes sense, like the cuts, you're golden.
Yeah. And Mike Lotta suggested earlier, don't cut between two tight shots of the same person. Go to a wide shot
Yeah.
in between, or maybe a tight shot.
Or
of the other person.
bounce. Ah,
Was that on him?
no, Dad.
What's in the cup?
Water. Of course. it's
Straight
water.
vodka. Just kidding. The bosses would not like that.
Yes.
I might need some brandy for my cold later. Oh yeah, he drinks iced tea out of this R cup, which looks like a whiskey glass.
It looks like
then with the iced tea in it?
all I do is I've only ever in my life drank water out of this and iced tea.
You
And
need to put some liquor in there one of these
it
days.
looks like like the kind of cup you would drink.
Cuts
alcohol
between
out of.
speakers, fades between topics and media. Excuse me, Eric.
Yes, exactly.
The
And
answer is
stingers
yes.
as well. If you saw Michael using the stingers in between cuts of real shots to media. Boom. Of course, it's okay to do that too.
Paul won't let me have a cup on the table
No, you'll get a
or
chance.
tissues. I need to have a cooler
that's
cup.
the
He
show,
doesn't like red
everybody.
Solo
I think
cups.
we did a great job. We'll roll the outro. Thank you so much for joining. It was such a fun show, and I think I like the way we did the show, where it
Oh my
was.
gosh, I was so in sync.
That was good.
That was good. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're not a member and you're new here, go ahead to facebook.com/groups/PTZ Optics Pals. That's PTZ Optics Pals, and join our user group. We continue the fun there.
Ciao.
Ciao, Belle.